Far below the meringue-like tops of the Julian Alps of Slovenia, a cacophony of cowbells echoes up into the heavens for any hiker or critter to marvel at. A herd close to 25 makes their way back towards the clearing for lunchtime. Although the noise is vast, not all of the cows wear bells. Some little ones free from the decoration until they too must be subjected to wearing one. Calves chew hungrily, dreaming of the day they are given their own bell. Serenade in the valley all life that comes to pass through it.
In the modern city of Innsbruck, Austria, you can find a very traditional company that has been making bells for the past 400 years. And today we were able to have a look at how they make bells. The 1200 degree hot bronze is poured into molds made out of bricks and clay. Traditionally, they have been buried underground in order to hold together their form. Nowadays, they have modernized and created metal rings that hold together the bell above ground. After the bells are cast, they need to cool down for a couple days before they can be unpacked and cleaned up. The bells can now ring for centuries to come.
The oldest bell foundry in the world has been using ancient techniques since the Middle Ages. It takes at least 3 months to make a bell by hand. The bottom and the top cup create the shape of the bell. The middle layer looks exactly how the final bell will look, so it will eventually be destroyed to make way for the bronze. They start off by building the bottom cup. Then, a worker slathers it with clay to create the middle cup, or what they call the false bell. A wooden ruler sets the exact shape, height, and weight of the final piece. This is the part that will be destroyed later. But before we get there, they have to bake the clay from the inside out. Next, they apply more clay to form the top cup, called the mantle. It provides the outside shape of the bell. Once this dries, they lift the mantle to expose the false bell. Then it's finally time to destroy it, to make way for the bronze. For smaller bells, they break down the mantle by hand. Finally, workers polish the finished bells until they shine.
Tak, a mal by być gotowy.
With the hand shears, he trims small flaps on the sheets, synchronizing all his movements quickly. This craftsman shapes the sheet over the frame. Up to this point, the cowbell doesn't have a bright sound. To give it the characteristic ring of this piece, Santiago prepares the casting process. The exterior of the cowbell is covered with a thick layer of clay mixed with straw. Inside, Santiago adds some metal pieces recovered from old parts and then fills it with the same vegetal material. For 20 to 25 minutes, the forge fire acts on these iron sheets coated in clay, melting the metal inside them. Then he takes the piece from the forge and rolls it on the ground so the molten metal spreads throughout the interior surface and fuses with the iron sheet, which is also red hot. Once the shell is removed, the cowbell emerges as an alloy piece of iron sheet and metal. I'm fitting the clapper with the strap inside it.
On a small anvil, Maurice bends the sides of the sheet metal and shapes it with a hammer to give it the hollow shape of the bell. The joints of the sheet metal were made with rivets. Now the small welding points close the piece in the shape of a cannon. Also with a hammer, Maurice bends and shapes the ears or pins that will be used to attach the handle. With strips of sheet metal, the master bell maker prepares the rings for attaching the clappers. First, in a small manual press, he bends the center of the sheet metal to reinforce it. Then he closes the rings with a pincer-shaped rig. Finally, in the screw, he shapes the inside of the rings. With the hand guillotine, he cuts off the excess ends of the sheet metal and the clapper hooks are finished. To place these rings, he uses a long punch. Maurice makes the hole in the bell. Once the ring has passed through, he rivets it so that it is fixed on the inside. With a thicker piece of sheet metal, the bell maker shapes the piece that will serve as a handle. Then, with a hammer, he fits it between the pins. A few welding points will fix the handle to the bell body. Another piece that Maurice will need is the mouth reinforcement ring or trim. In the hand press, he makes a V-shape out of long strips of sheet metal. With patience and skill, he adjusts the strip of sheet metal around the edge of the bell mouth. The bell maker puts protection on his chest so that he does not hurt himself when he presses the sheet metal with his body. Once he has fixed the reinforcement with a few welding points, the craftsman goes over the edge with the hammer. The cold work of the bell is finished, but the bells still do not have the metallic sound that characterizes them. To achieve it, Maurice will have to cast them. To prevent the clay from sticking to the iron, Maurice wraps the bells in newspaper. Then he introduces brass and copper slag to melt and spread on the inside of the pieces. As a wrapper to melt the bells, these artisans from Ney have tried different refractory soils, but they have realized that the best material is the clay that they themselves extract from a nearby mountain, mixed with straw. After a few blows with his hands, René passes the clay through rollers, where he stretches it to the desired thickness. In order to conserve humidity, the whole process is done with plastic sheeting. In the center of the clay plate, the artisan places small brass plates, and on them, the bell. The quantity and weight of the metal plates that must wrap the bell depend on the size of the piece. The experience of these bell makers is such that, at a glance, they know the proportions of metal to place. René wraps the bell with clay plate, making sure that the thickness is equal throughout the piece. He prepares the cover for the bell on a mold, and he makes a hole in the center, through which all the gases will escape during the casting process. The smaller bells are placed inside others so that all the molds occupy the same volume, so that the heat can be used more efficiently, and the casting process can be better controlled. In small, closed, heated racks, the bell makers store these pieces called panes to dry for several days. When they have enough pieces stored and more than 10 days of drying have elapsed, it is time for casting. In each oven, the master bell maker puts several pieces into the oven. Between 2,732 and 3,272 degrees, surrounded by flames and glowing coals, the panes are baked in a slow process. The intense heat acts on the metals and melts the sheets of brass and copper between the clay and the iron sheet, distributing the liquid metal over the entire surface of the bell. It is precisely this alloy which gives the bells their characteristic timbre, solidity, and color. From time to time, the bell maker opens the oven, checks how the casting is developing, and turns the fired pieces with the help of a steel pole. The heat of the oven is so strong that Maurice often has to change the tools that have become red hot. After 2 hours of baking the panes in the oven, the surface of the clay shines and the fire coming out of the hole is white. This indicates that the melting process of this oven has come to an end. Maurice checks the panes one by one, and if they have casted, he removes them with the pokers and iron hooks. The space they used to occupy in the oven is covered with new pieces that will have to withstand the heat of the fire for 2 hours. The pieces that come out of the red-hot oven carry impurities and slag that the operators must remove before they cool down. The inside of the bells continues to glow. Before being placed in the water, they must be left for several minutes in the open air to allow them to cool down progressively. One by one, the hot blocks are introduced into the trough, where they open up to the contrast with the cold water, and the bells appear with their golden gleam and the characteristic metallic sound. This is when the bells take on the temper of steel. To bring out the shine of the metal, the Daban workshop operators run the bells through the polishing wheel. To dry the wet bells, the artisans place them on the panes that have been taken out of the oven and are waiting to go into the cold water bath. In the final stage, the reputation of the Daban workshop is at stake, and Maurice reserves for himself the delicate task of tempering and fine-tuning the bells. The forger now becomes the musician and delicately hammers each of the pieces to raise or lower the pitch, varying the soundboard until the desired note is obtained. The harmony of the sounds is a sign of a well-finished work. The clapper is the element of percussion that hangs from the inner ring. It is usually made of wood or bone, and the most usual thing is that each shepherd places the clapper as he likes. The bells are now finished. Of the 250 models with different sounds that Maurice's father used to make, only 12 are still preserved today at the Daban workshops in Ney. The convex tricks, quadrangular quartzes, half tricks, and truquettes. The sound of the bells in the mountain, that for any layman is a pleasant bucolic atmosphere, for the shepherds it becomes a language of metallic tones that only they know how to interpret.
ist vorher gemacht worden. Jetzt machen wir das so weiter und dann nach Insberg. Das wird sicher wieder weitergehen.
Wir müssen alle arbeiten. Ja, ich bekommst von der Wolle auch nichts mehr. Da ist, am meisten ist mit dem Fleisch drin, wo man nur etwas sagt, wo man plus minus halt aufhört, was verdient ist nichts.
Wenn du da auch kommst auf der Kirche, dass du sagst, einfach mal den Stress weglassen können und
da auch kommen und wenn du siehst, dass alles ist von Viech, dass sie alle wohl auf sein, musst du sagen, ja, was willst du mehr?
Ko se moja žena sliče, to ti je pogled od sreče. Marija, dober dan, koga ste pa vi prišla? Ja, malo deva. Kaj? A za kravji bal? Čakaj, kako? Ja, koga? A je že september? Je že šta na takle vreme, se to je sonce, pa tale koron. Ja, se človek ne ve, koga bi rekel. Oprostite me, kad ne vem koga. Bom kuj, sam traktor zalaufam, pa direkt dol preletim. Ajde, se vidimo. Takoj, nas. Gremo na... ja, pa takle ne morem, je ta, razumeš? Se moram pa ja mal ugvantati za takle praznike. Neža, daj obleko. Evo, poglejte, sem že, tako sem se hiter oblekel, orka matona, evo ga, Ringo sem, ja, malo sem padel, a veste, kje se hti, živijo. Ti pa kosil kuhaj, bom kuj nazaj, vi pa kar dol pejte, imamo en provizoričen odr, tako na ukanca, zdaj ne 10 ljudi, zaradi koronce narejen. Se vidimo dol, Ojoj, gremo! Kravji bal, prihajam! Aha, čakaj, ob 10 začnemo, ob 11 pridejo pomemben politkarja, ob 13 je prevod živine, aha, ob 14 je pa skupen kosil. Pozdravljena, draga moja Slovenčka, Evropejca in uni preklužje, pa tudi unik ste z teh bolj eksotičnih orientalskih držav. Kravji bal, koga ne rečem, tudi tole se mora narediti. 63, a bi mogel biti po vrst. Ta varianta ne bo nič. Samo 4-krat je odpadel. Začeli smo na dvoriščih, smo krave dol pripeljali, pa smo pa kar tam zabavo naredili. Pojta drugač, smo šli pa še v gostilno. Tam je bila šele fešta, ki je bilo pa še to premalo. Smo šli pa direktno.
Kravji bal je prireditev, ki že dobrih 60 let privablja množice ljudi v Ukanc. Pravi začetki segajo že zelo daleč v zgodovino in teh predvojnih začetkov se nihče ne more več spomniti, vendar izhajajo iz poklona planšarjem, ki so gnali gospodarjeve trope krav na planine. Vse skupaj se je začelo v Češnici, kjer so gospodarji ob povratku planšarjev priredili zabavo v gostilni pri Tomaževcu. To je bil namreč dan plačila, ko so dobili nekaj denarja, oblačila ali čevlje. Glas o tej zabavi je segal po celotni Bohinjski dolini in tako je nastala prava veselica. Okoli leta 1925 so se domislili, da bi se planšarjem pridružili še bohinjski natakarji in tako se je praznik iz Češnice preselil v Ukanc, ki je najnižja bohinjska planina. Dolga leta je bil to praznik za domačine, ki so prihajali v Ukanc z obeh dolin, na vozovih in tudi peš. Po drugi svetovni vojni je kravji bal dobil turistično preobleko ter postal ena najbolj znanih in obiskanih tradicionalnih slovenskih prireditev ter hkrati bohinjska turistična atrakcija, ki je večkrat predstavljena tudi v tujih medijih in publikacijah. V starih časih je bila prireditev zelo velik podvig za organizatorje, saj so bile tehnične zmožnosti manjše, vendar so vedno zagotovili pestro dogajanje na postavljenem prizorišču, kjer se je glasba dobro slišala, ter so se lahko obiskovalci dodobra najedli bohinjskega sira in žgancev. Tudi danes je tako in kravji bal ostaja največji ponos Bohinja in ena največjih tradicionalnih prireditev Slovenije.
Tukaj smo prav na tistem mestu, kjer poteka vsako leto kravji bal. Tako da se vedno spomnim svojega očeta, ki smo mu rekli po domače Atk in smo ga imeli zelo radi, ker je on vsako leto, več kot 20 let, pripravil en tak pozdravni govor na Kravjem balu in v imenu planšarjev pozdravil vse navzoče.
Ta pozdrav vam podajamo kot poklon starosti planšarjev ter dolgoletnemu govorcu na Kravjem balu. Gre za odlomek Ukčevega pozdravnega govora. Franc Cvetek iz Todorja je kot napreden kmet in neugnan turistični delavec svojo trezno besedo in humorjem mnogo prispeval, da je ta prireditev iz planšarske veselice postala slovenska tradicionalna prireditev.
Ko planšar se s planin poslavlja, na Kravjem balu vas pozdravlja. Vse prijatelje in oznance, ka hote v Bohen na vakance. Le pridno v Bohen prihajajte, pa mal s planšarji pokramljajte, boste zvedeli, kaj od tistih časov, ki je Zlatorog tle gamse pasel. V Bohino krasni so izleti, tako po zimi kot poleti. Kdor bi pa v gore peš ne mogel, bo žičenca vlekla ga na vogu. Naš kraj je lep za letovanje, v gozdovih zdravo sprehajanje. Ugodno tu je za učence, kakor za novoporočence, ki prisluhnejo tam mehki travi, prijetnim čustvom v naravi. Pa tudi starejši državljani gredo v Zbohinja okrepčani. Na duhu in telesu sveži, pridobijo tudi pa na teži. Pridite, ampak drug let. Letos je koronca. Ja, če smo dobro živeli tok let, dajmo pa še let usvabimo.
Naslednje verze Ukčevega ata nam predstavlja njegov sin, tudi bivši predsednik turističnega društva Bohin Jože Cvetek.
Za danes povem vam to novico, da smo ob planšarsko pravico. Gozdar nam paša zdaj do odmirja in še škodljivci nas ozmirja. Pa je rekel takole, 59. leta. Stoletja smo že krave pasli, pa so debelmo cestni zrasli. Jih paša v rasti ne ovira, škodljiv je človek in sekira.
Vsa leta je Kravji bal v prvi vrsti pomenil dobro zabavo, kjer se obiskovalci naplešejo in najedo dobre hrane ter uživajo v pestrem programu. Vedno so nastopali dobri ansambli, pevski zbori, folklorne skupine in solisti. današnjih časih želimo obiskovalcem čim bolj približati življenje na planinah, predstaviti delo, pozdraviti živino ter planšarje, pastirje, majerje in sirarje po naporni sezoni na planinah. Priprave na Kravji bal potekajo skozi celo leto, dejansko pa se prizorišče postavlja 3 tedne. Ves čas se spremlja vremensko napoved, saj je odločitev o prestavljanju ali odpovedovanju Kravjega bala ena najtežjih odločitev za turistično društvo Bohinj.
Scariest Christmas traditions.
The Krampus, a half-demon folklore figure with horns and masks, took over the streets and rained mayhem. More in this next report. Take a look.
Pust is one of the most important festivals in Slovenia, and it usually takes place before Easter. It's a really special tradition for many Slovenians, and it's always been about different masks, different kind of characters. So I was trying to document these almost forgotten rituals and carnivals in kind of remote towns of Slovenia, rediscovering my own backyard, you know. And it's just wonderful to be there, to document it and photograph it. Festival Pust takes place in almost every town and village, and it's really a fantastic festival. And the idea is that we are trying to look forward to spring, trying to chase away the winter, the coldness, the harshness of this dark season, which is a little bit bizarre in the last years because the winters have been so mild and warm and very little snow in the valleys, but still tradition keeps on. Pust is one of the oldest rituals in Slovenia, and it goes far back before the early Christianity. And it was always kind of disapproved by church leaders, you know, in the 14th, 13th century, and also later in the socialist regime. But somehow in the countryside, the carnival kept its original identity. They were kind of brought back by locals, and that kind of knowledge was passed down from generation to generation. In most of the countryside carnivals, there are these kind of two different groups. There are the ugly ones. They have a certain role of chasing away winter, of killing the poost. And then there are also the beautiful ones. Their role is to bring this spirit of spring. They visit the homes of the neighbors. They bring the different gifts, blessings to their homes, giving them hope for the next season, that the weather will be great, that the snow will melt. There are many differences among these little carnivals. One of my favorites is probably Ravensk Pust. It's very old school, and the idea is that, you know, young, unmarried boys, they are kind of chasing away winter. They are dressed up with devils-looking costumes. They fill up their socks with ashes, and they chase young boys. It's kind of a rite of passage for young boys to become men. So for most festivals, it ends with a bonfire of burning pus, and they gather on the last evening of the festival season. They just take the stroll through the town and they throw it to the bonfire. It brings pus and winter. Also, you could say childhood of those boys to an end. And with the coming of spring, the ash-covered boys are transformed into men. For some villagers, Pust is more important than any other life event. So it's just a beautiful thing to see that, you know, this incredibly preserved, millennia-old ceremony still keeps on.
Slovenians love wine. Love wine. 63 to 89 million liters of wine are produced annually in Slovenia, of which fifth is intended for self-sufficiency. Slovenia produces so much wine, 95% of the demand can be supplied just by Slovenian wine. Slovenian wine is going to be on the table at every lunch if you are invited to a picnic or a barbecue event or a birthday or just Sunday dinner or lunch with family of your friends. You will have white and red wine on the table. They will most likely also ask you which one you are drinking. And then if you say red or white, they will also ask you which one. Do you want the Cviček? Do you want Refošk? I have Sivi Pinot. I have Malvazia, etc., etc. And Slovenians are actually third in Europe by the consumption of wine per capita. We stand at 44 liters. And the only people that top us is France with 54 liters and Portugal with 50 liters. That leads me to 7th point. Just because there is a large consumption of wine, don't let that fool you, because Slovenians aren't lazy drunks. Slovenians in general are very active people. They love to participate in sports, let that be cycling, hiking, running during winter. A lot of Slovenians ski or snowboard or just participate in other winter sports such as tubing, sledding, you name it. They love the outdoors, and because we have such an amazing landscape, there are several sports literally right outside your door. You just pick and choose them. So if you do party with Slovenians, be prepared that this Saturday morning is gonna look more like, hey, do you want to go hike for 7 hours with me, as opposed to, hey, I'm dead, are you dead? That also might happen, but visiting. Slovenia has its own language. There are 2 million people in the country, but we have our own language. But we also have insane amount of dialects for such a small country. The most distinctive feature of Slovenian language is the dual form, and it is when you speak just about 2 people. It would be different for 1 person, 2 people, and 3 people or more. So 2 people is not plural in Slovenian. It is a dual form. And it has 3 grammatical numbers, 6 cases, 8 conjugations, 3 grammatical genders, and 4 grammatical tenses. So good luck learning our language.
This is terrible. How many children?
Three.
Three.
I have three children.
So how big now?
The biggest is 17 years.
Oh, big. Yeah.
Boy, and the second boy is 14 years, and the girl is 12 years.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So they're now in school, but they help a lot around here because we try to do a lot of work.
Yeah, well,
family.
You work together.
Yeah, together.
You work together.
Kind of business. Yes, yes, because we try to serve the guest with, I don't know, smile, pleasure, kindness, because that's who we are. I don't try to sell, I don't know, something that I'm not. I sell this. I make this bread.
So
yes,
delicious.
yes,
So
yes,
delicious.
warm. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This kind.
I will be a big pig. I will eat lots. I will too.
And I have the video going. I am sorry it did not record the first part, but the name of the winery and the name of the wine is named after, you said, the region.
The name of the wine is after the region. Bela Krajina is Belokranjec. The name of our winery is called after the tree.
Yes. After the tree.
So the winery is under the old linden tree.
Ah, fantastic.
If you want to translate it,
Yes.
pod staro lipo in Slovene.
Ah. And speaking of translating, you pronounce my name
AnnJeChecks.
AnnJeChecks. So I am an AnnJeChecks to Kathleen and Lee, my brother and my sister. We will come back. They have a B&B here. They have rooms to rent
Yes.
here in Simic, Slovenia.
Beautiful place to stay. Peaceful. The people say that this linden tree they give them some positive energy and calmness. So you can stop here. So you don't have to rush everywhere. Because all people say, I don't have time, I have to go. So when they come here, they said, calm. Yes, calm down. They're peaceful.
Yes, trees have that capacity.
Yeah, especially if they're so big.
Yes. And I need that advice too, because I am very, she calls me wired. I am too wired, so.
Yes, I think we all are, and everyone themselves must say it's enough. I have to stop. I have to breathe. I have to leave.
Let's have a moment of silence.
Yes. Usually, if something bad happens in someone's life, if someone dies or if there is an accident, usually at that time, yes, we stop and we think, oh, what stupid we are, where are we going so fast? But when it's over, let's go again. I don't know. I think it's all over the world.
I think so too.
I make little houses in the desert, and they come and they help. It's the same quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we leave.
You need this.
We leave Detroit and we go to the desert, and we play with mud with her.
Nice. Peaceful.
Yeah.
Calming.
Yes.
Quiet.
Like quiet here.
Yeah. Now you come and eat something.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Try a pickle before they're
I'll
dry.
bring you some if you would like. Else,
Great.
Can I bring you now white wine or not?
No, white, please. Please.
Yep.
Hello and welcome. In the name of Regional Guides of Slovenia, I am Nina and I'm introducing today the Festival of St. Martin's, which is every year celebrated in Slovenia on the 11th of November. That's the death day of the saint and the bishop. And we actually believe that that is the day when wine cider becomes real wine. So it's really an important holiday in Slovenia. It's about food, but it's also about the wine. A lot of wine drinking takes place, and also we kind of reenact mass in which we actually baptize the wine, and the wine becomes real wine, so good enough for drinking. And of course, St. Martin's is a saint which was also a bishop, but before he became a bishop, he actually didn't want to post, so he hid in a bunch of geese, and the geese gave him away with their cackling, and so he became bishop, and so the geese became kind of a tribute, a symbol for the saint. So on this day we eat geese, but you can also eat any kind of other poultry, or also, as we will have it today, also pork meat or beef. Doesn't matter. The main thing is that it's good, that it's prepared with love, and that you have as a side dish, of course, potatoes. Where would we be in Slovenia without potatoes? And there is also a side dish of red cabbage, and also we give traditionally mlinci. So mlinci is like kind of flatbread, and it's traditionally eaten with this very sweet red cabbage. So St. Martin's is, because of his function as a wine saint, very, very beloved in Slovenia. We have a lot of churches and a lot of names of towns who are dedicated to this priest. So I hope you will also implement some of our customs in your celebration of this special day, and I wish you all the best of luck and of course a lot of health. Thank you. Bye bye.
The Dragon of Ljubljana, a symbol of Slovenia. While not the official national symbol, the dragon is the most cherished symbol among Slovenians, even more beloved than the national coat of arms. Right in the heart of the capital, Ljubljana stands one of Europe's most famous bridges, the Dragon Bridge, Zmajski Most. Adorned with 4 bronze dragon statues stretching their wings and baring their teeth as if ready to breathe fire, they stand proudly at each corner, facing all directions. In Ljubljana, dragon symbols are found not only on the city's coat of arms or the Dragon Bridge, but are also elegantly designed into park benches, manhole covers, and even printed on the side of trams gliding through the squares. Slovenians believe that dragons are real and are sleeping beneath the earth. Do you believe that dragons still exist not in stories, but right under our feet, deep within the earth?
The second point is I am now less obsessed with convenience. As you know, the United States, everything is geared towards convenience. Almost everything is 24/7. If it's not 24/7 every single day, open all day long, it's open at least every day for some portion of time. Maybe it's not the full day, but it's always open for most of the day, with an exception of some stores being closed, but most things are open all the time. And because of that, I guess you really get used to the United States of the convenience of everything. Everything's meant to be quick, on the go, and just ready for you exactly when you want it. Another example of that would be coffee. I've talked about this coffee culture before, but in the United States, it's a very quick grab and go coffee scene. It's much different than here in Slovenia. Here, you really sit down with some friends, enjoy a coffee for a couple hours, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours actually. That also goes for restaurants. Restaurants take a lot more time. It's not just a 30, 45-minute meal. I think most times in the US, when you go out to eat with your family, you actually are normally there for 45 minutes max. You get there, you want quick service, and you want to get it and you want to go. Here in Slovenia, when you go out to eat, it's more of a special thing. You go out to eat to spend time with your family and really enjoy the meal. And so, because I've lived here now for 8 months, I have become a lot less obsessed with quickness and just the convenience of everyday life. Point number 3, I now eat seasonally. In the US, there's basically any food available all year round. Maybe in these small towns, you have places that do eat seasonally, but for me, that never really was a thing. I could have any type of food at any time of year. Here in Slovenia, one of my favorite spots to go is to the Central Market. I've mentioned it a lot of times before, and it's really full of the fresh fruits that are grown seasonally. It's full of the veggies and all the things you can get just when they're grown at that time of year. So now in Slovenia, I really eat seasonally. In the winters, I have soups. In the summers, a lot more fresh foods like the fruits. I have a lot more fruits and things like that. And before, I just didn't eat seasonally. So here in Slovenia, I've raved about how amazing the food is, but I really love that now I'm eating seasonally because I live in an environment that in the grocery stores, there's only seasonal food. At the Central Market, you're only getting the seasonally grown veggies and fruits. And that really adds so much to the quality of life. because it's the most natural way to eat coffee. Point number 7, I've become more direct. I have talked about this a lot before, but Slovenian people in general are very direct. If you don't want to know the true answer to a question, make sure not to ask a Slovene. Slovenes are going to tell you exactly what they think and how they feel. They are very, very direct. And because I've been living in this environment and I've been around a lot of Slovenian people, I actually have become more direct myself. I speak very clearly and very to the point. And I think that's a really good trait. A lot of times in the US, people dance around the topic. Maybe the elephant in the room remains the elephant in the room at the end of the conversation because someone isn't direct and say the thing they should say. And so because I'm living here in Slovenia, I have become a more direct person. The 8th thing is that since I've moved to Slovenia, I've become much more environmentally conscious. As you can see behind me here, in Slovenia, all the trash is separated. Glass, plastic, bio, paper, all of it's separated in their own certain bins. And so you can't just throw trash anywhere. In the US, most of the time, we actually throw all trash into the same trash can. Maybe for a Slovenian person, that sounds crazy, but for an American, that's actually very normal. Just throwing trash all together. There are recycling bins for plastic bottles, but that's the only true recycling that I see in America. But since moving here, I've become much more environmentally conscious. As I mentioned in the first point, I am addicted to nature. And because I'm addicted to nature, I care a lot more about how it looks and just preserving. I mean, you know, you've seen the beautiful Ljubljanica right beside us this whole video, and it is stunning because it's clean. There's not a lot of trash in there. And then you can see like all the trees are beautiful, well kept. The grass is well kept and mowed. Really, the environment here in Slovenia has really made me appreciate the environmental side of the world and just where I live a lot more. It's also helped me to realize, I guess, the impact that maybe throwing away so much trash can have. And I really appreciate the recycling program that is here in Slovenia. Point number 1, I'm addicted to nature. Obviously, it should be no surprise to you that Slovenia has an unbelievable nature landscape. It is full of waterfalls, coast, caves, mountains. Everything you could want nature-wise is right here in Slovenia. All the hikes, skiing, you can do anything outside, really. It's full of beautiful rivers and lakes. So just to touch on a couple amazing places that I've been to in my time here in Slovenia, first I'm going to start with the place you know so well, Lake Bled. Lake Bled is absolutely stunning. It gets so much hype from the media and from people traveling, but it's absolutely worth it. I mean, just look at these images of Lake Bled. It's picture perfect. There are a lot of people there, but it's really justified. There's a lot of restaurants around. There's hotels if you need somewhere to stay. You can take a boat to the middle of the island. Another place I'm going to mention is Bledski Vinkar. It's right beside Lake Bled. It's not very far away. It's an amazing hike through a gorge. It's actually called Vinkar Gorge also. And the water is beautifully blue. You have to wear a helmet because it's such a excursion. It's really, really something you should see. Just look at the shots here. It's really amazing. Also, towards the end of the trip at Bledski Vinkar, there's a nice cafe. So as soon as you finish, you can enjoy a coffee right there. All Slovenes are drinkers. This one's actually really interesting because Slovenia is a very heavy drinking country on average. There's a ton of vineyards here. I think there's actually 1 per 70th person or family, if I do remember that correctly. But yeah, here in Slovenia, it's this drinking culture. It's just part of the culture. In the US, I would say maybe in the 20s, 1920s, it was a really big culture. And still, obviously, there's a big drinking culture. But as we move into the 21st century, I think less and less people in the US are actually drinking alcohol. Point number 2, the pace of life. Here in Slovenia, everything is a lot slower than in America. Of course, if you go to the rural areas, you're going to find that slow pace of life. But just on average, the pace of life here is much slower than in the US. Number 3, public transport. In the US, I only took car everywhere I went. I didn't use a bike. I didn't walk anywhere. And I definitely did not use the public bus or the public train. simply because it wasn't really an option. In the US, you almost have to take the car everywhere. In Slovenia, it's really common to walk, to bike, to take the train, or to take the bus. They're all really user-friendly. Maybe some of them take longer than we would like to sometimes, but they all are safe and you can use them whenever you need them. Point number 5, fashion and dress code. I would say that people think about Europe as a very fashionable place. Obviously, a lot of the influence around the world comes from Europe in terms of fashion. In the US, you really have a wide range of fashion, including where I'm from. Where I'm from is more country and cowboyish. So yes, we wear boots and yes, we wore hats. But in Slovenia, I would say everyone kind of has their own personality when it comes to dressing. You don't really have this, I guess you do have similar outfits, but you don't have the same clothing everywhere you go. And in terms of shoes, you can wear any color shoes with any outfit. In the US, it's really shoes match the outfit kind of vibe. So that's much different. Number 6, let's talk about small talk. In the US, it's common to say, hey, how are you? Here in Slovenia, you just say zdravo, živijo, dober dan, and you keep walking. If you say kako si, which means how are you, it really is to have a full conversation. It's a genuine question to get to know someone and ask them about their day. In the US, it's really like this just phrase you say. It's not really meant to ask someone, how is it going? That is a big difference. Number 7, tipping culture. This one is a hot topic and it's a big difference between Slovenia and the US. In the US, you are expected to tip 15 to 20%. I would say that is minimum. It used to be 10, 12, 15, somewhere in there. But as time goes on, the tips actually get higher. I see a lot of times 25% is an option to tip when you pay for the bill in the US, which to a Slovene sounds crazy. The tipping culture here is that you give a amount of money if someone does a really nice job and you want to say like, thank you so much for being so kind and doing a great job serving us. It's not a requirement, kind of like it is in the US, but it is greatly appreciated by everyone that works at the restaurant. Point number 9, smoking. Here in Slovenia, it is still really common for young people especially to smoke. In the US, not a lot of young people smoke. That's just the honest truth. Maybe, I don't even know a percentage of the population, but I would say around 20% if I had to put a number on it, maybe 30%. But here in Slovenia, a lot more young people smoke than they do in the US, and that's just part of the culture here. Obviously, the whole world is moving, I would say, generally away from smoking just due to the risk of smoking, but here in Slovenia, it is part of the culture still. Point number 10, Slovenia is a nature culture. Everyone here is hiking, biking, walking, doing something outside all the time. In the US, I would not say this is very common. Obviously, there's parts of the US where you can find this, such as places like Colorado, and these places that are really known for nature, like Vermont, where I lived for a little while. These places are, I would say, outside friendly. Slovenia is such a nature culture that everyone is outside and spending time outside. Maybe they're growing fruits in their yard or veggies. I would say that's pretty common for people just to have this hobby of growing food. So people spend time in the nature all the time in Slovenia. Point number 11, in Slovenia, it is much more formal than in the US. The society here really respects the formality. There's even formalities in the language. A lot of the language is meant to speak to someone in a respectful, formal tone. In the US, I would say those barriers are pretty low. It is formal at times, but overall, it's generally pretty casual. You know, it's not too formal. People have normal conversations like their friends a lot of the times. Yeah, I would say Slovenia is a very formal culture. The US, a lot of times, is a very informal culture. Point number 12. In Slovenia, when you have a birthday, you pay for the birthday experience. If I had a birthday here in Slovenia and I invited friends or family to join me, it would kind of be expected that I pay the bill. And the reason is because I invited them. In the US, if it's your birthday, you are the one who's getting all the gifts. Everyone's paying for you. It's completely backwards than in Slovenia. So that's really interesting. 3, communication styles. Number 13, it is very different here in Slovenia than it is in the US. In Slovenia, like I've talked about, it's formal. And it isn't this small talk friendly. The US, a lot of small talk, very informal. And I'd say that kind of defines the culture. The way people socially connect here in Slovenia is completely different than in the US. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. Number 14, independence in kids. I would say here in Slovenia, kids have a lot more independence. And there's a big reason for that. In the US, you have to be driven everywhere by your parents. Here in Slovenia, the kids can walk around, they can bike to the neighborhood, to the city, they can take the bus. So it's really friendly for kids to hang out with other friends. And I would say that leads to a lot of independence here at a very young age compared to the US. I've seen kids here on the bus that are 9, 10 years old taking the bus by themselves. And the US, I've never seen anything like this. The parents basically have to drive the kids everywhere, or they have the school bus to take the kids to and from school. But in terms of hanging out, they have to really be driven by the parents. There's no other way to do it. Point number 15, the dating culture. I would say in the US, dating is a lot more casual. You go on a date, obviously you hope to really like the person, have a great conversation, and start to date. But it isn't, people date for years and years and years in the US before they commit to marriage. I would say here in Slovenia, from what I know, it's typically a lot quicker. When you start dating someone for a long time, it's normally you're committing to marriage, and you probably get married much quicker than you would in the US. In the US, people can date 10, 15 years before they even get married, which is much different than in Slovenia. Point number 16, wedding traditions here in Slovenia and in the US are really different. In Slovenia, it's all centered around the church. There's a lot of weddings in the church, and it's a really formal and, traditional wedding. In the US, a lot of times you have destination weddings. You have marriages still through churches, but it's not the same because the preacher will go to a different location. Maybe they do it in the woods or at some scenic place. In Slovenia, you do it at the church with the priest. That's pretty formal, I would say. Obviously, you have people who don't do it this way, but I would say the norm in Slovenia is to do it through the church. Point 17, it's really uncommon for Slovenes to talk about their religion. In the US, it's really common for someone to be really open about what they believe, their faith, and their religion. My experience here in Slovenia is that no one really talks about their religion. 18, the work-life balance. Here in Slovenia, there's an amazing work-life balance. Everyone gets off at 4 or 5. Typically, obviously, you have people who work later, but if people get off at a normal hour, that way they can go home and hang out with their family. In the US, you really don't have this. There's a lot of hierarchical issues. People have problems with corporate America, and so you don't have this great work-life balance. It's really lost a lot of times because you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, you're trying to become more successful. And so in the US, people spend a lot more time at work than they probably should. Point number 19, here in Slovenia, it's actually much more common to rent than it is to own. In the US, I would say a lot more people get a house. Obviously, there is a ton of renters as well, just like here in Slovenia. But in the US, you can get more favorable loans. It's a lot easier to get a loan in the US. In Slovenia, it's harder to get a loan because you have to put a lot more money down. So it makes it a lot harder for people to own homes in Slovenia than in the US. At least that's what I've heard, and that's what I've been told. Point number 20, here in Slovenia and most of Europe, there's a huge culture of travelers. Everyone wants to travel all the time. They want to explore these countries and just travel to new cities and explore new things. I would say people in Slovenia specifically travel a lot compared to the US. And the US, yeah, people travel to different states sometimes. I mean, a lot of people do explore the US, don't get me wrong, and they travel to other countries. But I would say in the US, people really spend a lot more time where they're from. And if they do travel to a city, it's for like a concert or a football game or something like that. It's not really to go and explore a city. I would say in Europe and in Slovenia, people go and explore these cities with these castles, and they dive into the history and to the culture of these regions. And I would say that's a bit different than in the US. 21. Here in Slovenia, the culture is really dependent on the tradition of the society. I would say a lot of things in this culture are tied to religion. So the major holidays, Easter, Christmas, everything revolving around the Christian religion. There's a lot of holidays and a lot of traditional things in Slovenia, including foods and family gatherings, are built around these traditions. In the US, that's much different. A lot of these holidays are really commercialized, such as Christmas and Easter with the Easter bunny. Here in Slovenia, it's a lot more traditional. It's based on the biblical teachings instead of the commercialized version. I would say it's much different, just the holidays and the traditions in general. Here in Slovenia, Halloween is more of a religious thing. It's not dress up and go ask for candy like it is in the US. So I'm just saying that to say they're much different. Point 22, let's talk about local pride. I would say here in Slovenia, everyone is really passionate about where they're from. And I would say most people typically live where they're from. It's really common for someone to stay in their same house that their family has for 2 or 3 or even more generations. In the US, it's such a moving culture that you move to another city, another state, that I wouldn't say people are really like nationalistic about their city. I would say people move all the time. It's more of a statewide nationalism, if there is one. But just in general, Slovenes are more proud of their cities than Americans. Point 23, environmental awareness. Here in Slovenia, it is very environmentally conscious. And you can see that very simply with the trash. Here in Slovenia, every single piece of trash is separated and broken out between glass, paper, plastic, bio, and then residual, everything else. But in the US, a lot of times, at least where I'm from, you throw everything into one trash can. So all paper, all plastic, everything goes together. So here in Slovenia, it's separated. In the US, it's not. So that's just an example of how environmentally conscious Slovenia is. Number 24, individualism. In the US, it's a very individual mindset. It's me versus you. It's not us versus them. It's really me versus you. Everything is individualistic. And maybe that's just part of the market. That's part of society. But it's really individualistic. So far, here in Slovenia, my understanding is it's much more group-oriented. At least in the university, we do a lot of group work compared to the US. In the US, everything was really individual. So that is a big difference between how people work together or work apart. Point 25, the education approach. Here in Slovenia, you go to a seminar and you also have a lecture. In the lecture, you learn from the professor, and in the seminar, you basically relearn the material you learned in the lecture, but in a deeper way. That way you understand it. And that's the 2 classes in the week. In the US, every single class you're learning, at least from my experience, you're learning with the professor every class, and you're always learning something new. You don't have these catch-up classes. I would say in Slovenia, a lot of times you rely a lot more on the PowerPoints. In the US, a lot of times it's about what you know, based on what you've heard in class. So in the US, I would say it's really, really, really important that you are in class. I would say in Slovenia, it's obviously important to go to class, but I don't think you have to be there 100% of the time to get all the information like you would in the US. Point 26, let's talk about the healthcare difference between the US and Slovenia. So Slovenia has public healthcare. That is good if someone really needs it and they can't afford private healthcare. But you do have to wait a long time for a normal appointment, like a colonoscopy, for example, if you go the public healthcare route. In the US, yes, obviously you still have to wait and you absolutely have to pay, but I would say you can get treated a lot more quickly based on my experience. I have experienced both at this point, so I know a little bit about both. I don't know everything, obviously, but just from my experience, you do have private here in Slovenia, which allows you to be quick, just like the US, but if you go public, you have to wait a really long time, which can be a downside for some or positive depending on your situation. So the US and Slovenian healthcare systems are very different. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video.
So I have a question for all of you tonight. If you can answer this question, I am willing to buy you dinner any place of your choice. Any place of your choice. How do you know? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? I was speaking at a school in California a few months ago. A 14-year-old girl who was supposed to have been at that program was killed the night before coming back from...
Zima. Trd in prazen čas. Med bitji, ki so si za poslanstvo izbrala preganjanje mraza, se je na vzhodu Slovenije ohranilo eno prav posebno. Kurent. Pogovarjali smo se z ljudmi, ki vedo, o čem govorijo. Govoreč o kurentu, govorijo o sebi.
To je Mihaličev kurent. Pri 5 letih sem bil skoraj ob življenje zaradi kurenta, ne?
Kurentove oprave danes nastajajo v tapetništvih po Ptujskem polju. V razširjeni družinski obrti Marka Klinca gojijo celo svoj sirk za kurentove brke. Vse od novega leta pa do nekaj dni popustu Marka od jutra do večera oblegajo stranke. Popraviti kapo, zamenjati kožuh, ukrojiti novo kurentijo.
Pred 200 letja, kaj bi lahko rekel, odhod so prvi znani kurenti bili precej drugačni od današnjih, nekaj so zdaj. Normalno, ko so se kuranti razvijali iz leta v leto, to je bilo par stopnic, kaj vem, kuranti, ki so bile malo bolj odmevne.
Kako mora biti kurent, da je pravi kurent?
Rabi zvonce, gamaše, črne ščevlje, bele vezalke.
Vsak nekaj zdraven prinese, vsako leto se nekaj doda, nekaj takega zraven. Tako da bi rekel, da se kurentija kar precej razvila od 50 let nazaj pa do zdaj, ampak če gleda že 10 let nazaj, je kar velika razlika.
Nekoč so bile kurentje kreacije večinoma prepuščene iznajdljivosti posameznika. Marko Klinc je nekoč izdelal repliko prvega znanega koranta, kakršnega je konec 18. stoletja skiciral župnik iz Markovcev. Poleg običajne kurentije si tudi to občasno nadene Franc Kukovec, starešina kurentov.
Tistikrat, veste, je bil čas taki, da nisi mogel priti, nisi imel denarja, da bi kupil, pa niti nisi imel kaj kupiti opreme. Opreme, pač vse so si kupili ljudje, samo kože so kupili, gor na Gorenskem, tam so imeli ovce, pri nas ni ovc bilo, Jaz vem, ko so naši fantje bili po službo gore na Gorenskem, pa so tudi do krave šli, pa so zone zdaj potegnali, to tako so govorili, jaz sem to ne doživel. Kaj sem na sliki tam, ko so gledali sliko, tiste od psa bilo kožo.
Kurenti desetletja nazaj so bili podobni tistim na Miheličevih slikah, z odkritim obrazom in krajšo dlako. Kurent je že od nekdaj posledica inovacij nekaterih domiselnežev. Je živa, razvijajoča se maska, ob tem pa mu dol visi za globalno ogrevanje, ker je vedno bolj kosmat.
No, veliki preskok bi jih rekel, naredil naš ata. On je prvi začel bolj uporabljati to dolgo dlako, ovčjo, ne. Skoraj bolj močen zledi, bolj kot ded, veliki, ne.
Jaz pravim, tem kurjem to dejansko manekeni, ne. To so počesani kožuhi, jaz pravim, da so popeglani, zvonci so spolirani, ne.
Zapuščine zgodovinskih oblik kurenta se danes kažejo na povorkah v malce alternativnih kurentih. V zadnjih 2 desetletjih pa se je tudi kurent znašel na steroidih kapitalizma.
Tako kak se vsa posode pravi, stranke narokujejo trg, ne.
Aha.
Daljša dlaka, večja zvonca, večja maska, večje ovo, ne. Večje je pa vsa pa bolj težko, ne. Ata skozi pravo, da mora biti malo korak gledati na demona bolj, demonski lik bolj in bi bil bolj siromašno pobarvan, pa tam siromašno. V glavnem te samo naravne, domače barve, črna, rdeča pa bela. Te pa žena prišla zraven, te pa se že malo dodala modra zraven. Tek da je modro videl, ata gor poštrihano, se že on že za glavo čoho. Ne, to ni vredo. Zdaj pa so že oranžne, rumene, vse kaj je, kakva barva je, malo bolj živa, malo lepa, jo že uporabljamo.
Zdaj tam 30-40 neko se sploh ni vedelo, kdo je vse kuren, ali pa ena pojava je prišla tudi odrasle, ali pa ne, sem imel en predsodek, eno strah pred teme nelike, ne. To je zdaj pol, ali pa rečemo zdaj, dosta bolj s filmu gledal, ne. Prišli so motoristi, tako kot včasih so nas predstavljali, kako neko bando, kaže, neki nemoralne drogaraši, ne vem kaj. In tako da tudi, ali stali mogoče tu malo povezave s tem, ne. No, zbrali pa smo tudi ime to ime pa ta znak, ker je pač prepoznav naš domači slovenski znak, pa da ni tistih nekih znakov ali pa klubov za angleškim ali pa stale takve druge imene, ne. Ker mislim, da klub iz tiste države, iz kjere je naj predstavlja tiste države in tudi ime naj ima v tistem jeziku ali nekaj takšnega.
Jaz sem sicer kurent, ker če kurenta na sebi nimaš tega kostuma kurentovega, dejansko ne moreš vpiti te njegove moči. Takrat se človek čisto drugače obnaša, ne.
Boris Žohar je slikar samouk. V letih ustvarjanja je prešel skozi več obdobij, od resnejšega in temnejšega rjavega do danes nadrealističnega kroga.
Mene ne zanima kurent kot lik sam, ker on je tak ali tak že dovolj bogat vizualno, ne. Mene zanima ta zgodba, to njegov namen, pomen, njegovo poslanstvo bilo, ne, preganjanje zime, želi dobro letino, dobro rodnost. Ravno zaradi tega njegovega poslanstva mi pomeni bolj ne demonski lik, ampak lik, ki prinaša samo dobro. Sigurno, da ga osebno zelo močno doživljam, ne. So še ene zadeve, ki pa niso marsikomu znane, tega ne govorim rad. Jaz pravim, mogoče so to naključje, mogoče je to usoda. Pri 5 letih sem bil skoraj obživljenje zaradi kurenta, ne. Pozneje v 80 letih pa sem se poškodoval tako hudo zaradi kurenta, ko sem ustvarjal to skulpturo 5-metrsko, ko je javno postavljena, ne. Tam sem trpel poškodbo noge in je pustila posledice.
Ogromno otrok se ne boji več kurenta. Vsakega že če malo potipati, pošlatati, kak je, pa to.
Daj probe.
Kurent je na svojem letanju po tujini fasciniral tudi belgijske eksperte za karneval, veseljake iz Arlona.
Le masque du sanglier à Arlon, c'est le logo de la province de Luxembourg. Le sanglier représente la province de Luxembourg. Et alors qu'on est souvent venu ici à Pstouy, les Kurent représentent la ville de Pstouy. Alors on a eu l'idée de faire un costume fait en Slovénie pour représenter la province de Luxembourg en Belgique. Le Kurent, c'est fascinant, hein. C'est déjà une culture qui date depuis des années. En plus, les costumes, c'est quelque chose qui est phénoménal. Même quand ils sont venus à Arlon, au départ, les enfants avaient peur. Maintenant, ils les connaissent, ils sont habitués. Et alors, pour nous, c'est toujours un plaisir de les avoir chez nous parce que c'est un groupe qui est vraiment tout à fait spécial, qu'on ne voit que si on vient ici. Et des masques comme ça, bon, en Belgique, ça n'existe pas. C'est pour ça qu'avec le sanglier, on aura un masque qui sera unique en Belgique, mais fait par les Kurent.
La beauté du masque et des couleurs que chaque masque ont et la convivialité des gens qui le portent.
Žanu, Zali in Žigu se otroški in ženski kurenti zdijo nekaj najbolj običajnega. Teden pred pustno soboto smo jih v njihovem društvu spremljali o pripravi na veliko mednarodno pustno povorko.
Za nekatere, ki se bojijo, jih je kurentov strah. Za nekatere pa, ki jim je to fajn, pa je to za njih zabava, ne?
V starih časih, pravzaprav že v zgodovini, kurenti niso bili, so se kurenti tepli z ježekami, taki čas več tega ni.
Bili so predvsem neporočeni moški. Zadnjih 14 dni si opremo pripravljamo pred pustom. Takoj, ko prija puste, pa se pa znorimo.
Damo vse od sebe.
Ko pada sneg ali dežuje, se mi kurenti ne moremo udeležiti v povorku, zaradi tega, ker imamo trakove, ki spuščajo barvo po kožuhu in potem kožuh postane pisan.
Marko, mi smo kurenti po starih običajih, ne?
Ne gremo, mi letimo.
Ja. Mi gremo na most na soboto, pa v nedeljo, ponedeljek, vtorek pa tako za sposojena.
Ja, občutek imaš, veselje, razburjenje, živ vse boj, ne. Ti boš zdaj tiste moči od sebe, kaj jih imaš, da se enkrat oblečeš. Moraš skočiti, kurent moraš skakati, ne.
Zaradi številčnosti, množičnosti in komercializacije se kurentovanje za nekatere razvija v čudno smer.
Kaj, 20 let nazaj, ne? Tam tedni pred sami pustom, to je bilo mesto puno mask, malih, starejših, gostilne so bile pune mask, kurentov, zdaj pa tega več ni, ne. Zdaj pa že skoraj na konci dobiš občutek, da nekdo, ki je maskiran, ki ga že imajo, da je idiot, ne.
Danes je to vse drugače, to so povorke, to stotine kurentov, to malo lahko...
Ti kurenti dejansko zdaj se imajo nekaj organizirane prevoze z avtobusi, s kombije, z prikolicami in dejansko zdaj tu naš kraj, ki bi mogel videti kurenta na vsakem koraku, ne, da nekjer ne vidiš, ker tudi če nekam gre se pelje on z avto, ne, ker nič več ne hodi peš, ne.
Se sprosti, kjer, pa neče skakati, pa kaj, to se ne pozna, ne, da pa 4-5 kurentov, 6-7, Vsak je mogel skakati, ne.
Vsi kaže, že imajo neki interes, ne, za stojnjato, ne, če nam plačali, bom pa mogoče prišli, samo pripeljali, ne, bom pa prileteli, ne.
Jaz imam korontijo mogoče že vrh glave, ki smo to kar 2 do 3 mesece tu not vpeti v delavnici od jutra do večera. Ne, meni že malo tečne korontijo mogoče, drugače pa da si sproščen, pa kam greš, pa te ljudje tako lepo sprejmejo. Ja, pa če v strani glediš koranta, če neka skupinica 15-20 korantov, je to nekaj lepega videti, no.
Turisti danes previdno opazujemo izza varnih rešetk ograje. Karneval pa je narejen za praznovanje telesa. Je upor cerkvi, oblasti, omejitvam. Udeležujejo pa se ga vsi. Za vse. V tej obliki ga skoraj da ni več in v iskanju smo obupavali, dokler nas ni na pustno soboto zaneslo na povorko skozi vasi Ptujskega polja v Markovce. V njej sodelujejo cele vasi. Medvedi, nore ruse, piceki, novodobnejše kreature in seveda kurenti.
Moram reči, da na tisto osnovno, glavno vprašanje, ki sem skozi postavljal, nisem dobil odgovora in mislim, da ga tudi nišče ni dobil še do zdaj, tudi od strokovnjakov, ne, odkot.